Okay, so this is probably one of the most important videos that I'm going to do about learning English, but also about learning any other skill that you want to learn. So the topic of this video is going to be how to not plateau in any skill, how to not plateau, how not to get to a certain level and not be able to improve from that level. Okay, so I'm going to start talking about English, how not to plateau in English, which is the main topic of this YouTube channel. And then we are going to talk in a more broader way about how not to plateau in any other skill. So most learners, most non-native English speakers, they start learning English, and most of them, they get to a certain level in which they have a strong non-native Spanish accent. So they get to a level in which they have a significant accent, they have a really limited amount of vocabulary, they have a limited speaking speed, they have a limited vocabulary. They have a limited speaking speed, they have a limited vocabulary, a limited amount of expressions, a limited amount of the accent is significant, and indeed, like, the level is way significantly lower than native speakers, to the point that even native speakers and them struggle to understand each other. So native speakers struggle to understand learners, and learners struggle to understand native speakers because of the difference in level. Even people who have taken it more seriously, who have, for example, been living in the UK, in the US for lots of years, most of them, they still have a significant non-native accent, they still have a limited amount of vocabulary, the fluency is like far from perfect, the intonation is not perfect, and yeah, they still struggle to understand native speakers. Native speakers still struggle to understand them. Now the natural question is like, how do you push your level to native level? How do you get to native level? How do you get out of that situation in which you reach a level which is not like the best level that you can get to? And yeah, so that's the most natural question that comes. So the first answer to this question is that what you have been doing so far, so what you have been doing to trying to get to that native level, is not enough. It's not what you need to do in order to get to that native level. It's always not enough. Even those people who have been like 3, 4, 5 years, 10 years abroad, living in an English native speaker country, they haven't been doing enough for what they have to do in order to get to that level. That's the first point. So what you have done so far is not enough. What you have done, if you keep doing the same thing, you're not going to get to that native level, if that makes sense. So the answer to that question, to why those people are not getting to that native level, is not a one-dimensional answer, because it's probably a combination of not doing enough in various fields, in various areas. So probably the mistake that those people who are actually living abroad, one of the mistakes they are doing is that they are speaking a lot in the native languages, but they are not speaking that much in English. Maybe they have friends, for example, if they are Spanish, maybe they hang out a lot with Spanish people and they don't talk that much with English people, and that's why they are not improving that much. Indeed, when I went to UK, I knew lots of Spanish people, and when I saw them, most of them were speaking Spanish among them, and they were not like speaking English, and that's the big thing that were like preventing those people from getting to a higher level. Another mistake that people make that prevent people from getting to that native level is that maybe they'll speak a lot of hours in English, but maybe they speak always kind of in the same context. So they have only vocabulary and expressions, and they can only improve to a certain extent because of the context in which they are talking. So for example, like a waiter, he's always like talking about more or less the same things, having the same depth of conversations, and yeah, repeatedly. So yes, maybe they become really good at saying that those are really small amount of things, but when it comes to talking about things which are or different from those things that were related to their job, it's really hard for them to talk because they don't have vocabulary, they don't have expressions, maybe their pronunciation is still wrong. And yeah, that's one of the things that probably is preventing them to get to that native level as well. Another cause that is not making them to improve, for example, their accent or pronunciation, is that maybe they are not like checking how to pronounce new words or how to make new sounds. So when it comes to pronouncing a word, they are always pronouncing it wrongly. They are not actively trying to pronounce right that word. So for example, when I was in the UK, I remember that sometimes I really struggled I really needed to focus on one word and how to pronounce it correctly before I actually was able to pronounce it correctly. So maybe I was like 1 month researching, 1 month just like talking to people, and I still couldn't pronounce the word right. And even I was just like focusing on one word, and it took me like trying a lot of times, investigating, checking with other people until I got it right. So maybe you need to focus on really specific things, specific words, and unless you do that, maybe you are never going to be able, just by practicing, to improve that level. Maybe just by practicing that word, although you may understand it, maybe you are never going to pronounce it correctly unless you make an active effort to really make sure that what you are saying is completely right. Okay, listening. So I know lots of people who have kind of a decent level when it comes to speaking, but when it comes to having conversations, they really struggle to understand people. And although lots of people say that, yes, they understand, the reality is that most of them, no, they don't understand that well. So one way in which you can improve your listening, in which you can understand more, is by watching YouTube videos, listening, so that you can get more used to listening to English people, and more used to the intonation, more used to when they say certain words, more used to, so certain words that they use normally in certain contexts, or you can get more used to the intonation as well. I feel like when it comes to listening to podcasts, it is better to, for example, listen to just like when there's just one person speaking, because they tend to speak slowlier. So you are able to, when you get to the point in which you're comfortable understanding to just one person, then it is actually more likely that you are going to be able to understand multiple people at the same time, right? Because they are going to tend to speak faster since they are in a conversation. Okay. So the underlying concept that I want to explain from speaking when it comes to improving your English level is that in any skill or set of skills, the only way, so if you are like just like getting real experience without really getting into theory and trying to improve certain details, it is likely that as you get to a certain degree of experience, your level is going to remain constant. It's not going to improve. And the only way in which you can stop that trend, in which you can still keep improving and improving, to the toppest level that you can get, is by focusing on really specific things. For example, pronunciation, words, and really trying to become really good at it. And then when you do that, then you are going to overall increase your level. just by practicing, by doing normal conversation with people, you are not going to improve your level anymore. You need to work out on really specific things, pronunciation, expressions. Although it is true that once you are doing both things, like doing a specific and doing general, you can actually, by practicing more in general and still doing specific, you can improve even faster, if that makes sense. So you are like trying to pronounce things and you're practicing as well at the same time, you are going to improve faster than if you are just like working on a specific things. Yeah. Okay, so for example, when it comes to playing football, the same concept is applied. So you can, by just like practicing, by playing football with people and in a normal context, in an arbitrary normal context, you can get to a certain level playing football, but from that point, the only way to really improve it, the only way to really become a better player is not anymore by playing, which, yeah, it's not going to make a difference, if that makes sense, or really negligible. The only way you can really keep improving your level is focusing on different areas and try to really improve at them. For example, how to head, like score, how to score with a head, how to become better at that, how to score penalties, how to score with free kicks, how to dribble, how to control the ball. If you are working specifically on that, then your chances on improving your overall performance when it comes to matches is going to increase. However, otherwise, if you just focus on practicing without focusing on the specific things, you're not going to improve in general. Yeah, so the more specific you can get in those areas, the better, because the more margin of improving, and the more margin of improving in a specific area, that means that overall your performance is going to improve as well. Yeah, for example, like with headers, if you can try to practice headers in different situations, you are going to have more margin of improving in each situation, and therefore when it comes to performance, in arbitrary performance, you are going to do better when it comes to heading in general. You take one step at a time and focus on each thing, then you are going to become overall a better performer. Although in the short term, you may actually notice that you decrease your level because you are focusing more on one thing rather than in the overall performance. And the most important point that I want to do about this video is that like this concept of like going to specifics to become really good at them and then becoming better in your overall performance, and not just can be done in language learning or in sports, but it can be done in every single aspect of your life. It can be done in health, in relationships, in friendships, socializing, organization, nutrition, in everything. So that's probably one of the most powerful tools, more powerful concepts. You apply them to get better in every skill in life, and therefore in life.